But man, okay. So you're at the Fringe Fest. You had this, I would say, spiritual moment, I think, in your life
I
with that.
Sure, I've never characterized it as that, but I think that's totally justified in calling it that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Wow.
then just became about how do I pursue that feeling. It wasn't media dependent. It wasn't, you know, format perspective or modality. It was
It was an
just,
expression as a play, but you could express that other ways. You felt
yeah,
like, yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I also know that I think it makes you a better speaker when you can be vulnerable and show a real side of who you are. I think, and this is where this idea of the metrics and social come in. I did a post on International Women's Day about my mom, and it was, hey, like, hey, my mom, grew up with spina bifida. She was physically disabled. Her school was called the Montreal School for Crippled Children.
Ooh,
Like yeah,
tough name.
horrible
Tough
name,
name.
horrible.
Oof.
Right?
People were brutal back then.
It would just roll off her tongue like, well, I remember the
Oh,
School for Crippled Children. We'd be like, oh, God,
God.
don't say that.
Jeez.
Um, but she graduated in grade 10 because that's when you're physically disabled. That's when you graduated. There was nothing after that for you.
Mhm.
And she was left alone with 4 children, social assistance, blah, 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 blah. And I just said, on this day, we often celebrate women who are titans of industry, women who are killing it, women who are climbing the ladder, who are righting the wrongs, and as we should. That is long overdue. But without people like my mom who never were given a chance, like just because they didn't speak up didn't mean didn't have a voice, and just because they accepted their fate, that doesn't mean they deserved it. And that, let's not forget those women on International Women's Day. So anyhow, I know that I can write a post like that and be really open and vulnerable, and the views are going to go through the roof. It's just going to go through the roof. It's going to be shared more than an article that I write about, I reference from Harvard Business Review. Guaranteed. Now, the metrics chasers would say, well, then you need to do more stuff like that and just keep getting all those views. And I say, no, I don't. Because the reason I don't want to just be the person that shares this personal vulnerable stuff, I'm way more complicated than that. And there are way more things that I find interesting and that I think, by the way, are way more important. I think articles from HBR or CEO Network or like whatever, McKinsey, I think those are way more important to business. And you can sprinkle in some of that personal stuff. But just because the metrics say you got a lot of views on something, that doesn't mean you should rinse and repeat on that, because then you're that guy.